being with Imre, running around in Hungary, is just seeing his love for the country, seeing that he's a real patriot. He's somebody who believes that Hungary needs a future, and he sees that abortion is robbing Hungary of its future. And so he wants his country to grow. He wants children to be born. I mean, he's giving example himself with his 6 children at home, but he could be doing so many other things. I mean, he has a PhD in literature. He could be, working at the university, doing other things, but instead he has dedicated his life to defending life.
I'm motivated to do the pro-life work by my own personal life. This life began in the 50s, at the beginning of the 50s, when the abortion was still illegal. My father was mayor after the Second World War, so they were declared class enemies by the communists. And this was the reason why they had to leave the capital, Budapest, and they were forced to go to the countryside, and they lived there among very miserable circumstances. They hungered. In this situation, my mother realized that she was pregnant.
He was almost aborted by his mother. Really, it's one of those ironies that the communist regime actually saved his life, because his parents were shipped off as enemies of the state, as prisoners, when his mother was pregnant. And she wanted to have an abortion, but she couldn't.
And she was urged and forced, and all the circumstances were against me, against the baby, and she tried to perform abortions for herself. My real spiritual parent was my father, who was very much against this abortion temptation done by my mother. And of course it was a kind of conflict between them. He was a very strong Catholic, my father. He was a member of a family of 9 children, and his parents, my grandparents, were very, very strong Catholics. And of course they accepted the gifts given by God, the gifts of children. And this was the reason why he was for my life at that time.
And it's his father and the fact that no abortion was available that saved his life. His mother even tried to take pills to have an abortion, and it wasn't successful.
The quinine pills in order to make the womb contracted were not enough, and it was not allowed at that time to perform an abortion officially. And she was not successful with this temptation, with these tries. So I was 11 years when I realized, somehow I heard a family speech about my past. My father told some relatives the story of mine, and I just had a very sad feeling, because at once I was able to see clearly why was my relation to my mother so complicated. Because at 11 years, children are very loved by their parents. The relation is normally is good, but I had something wrong with my mother. So this was the point of view. This was a kind of earthquake, on my heart and on my sentiment. And I realized that I was an abortion survivor.
Imre himself sees himself as an abortion survivor. He is a person who was almost killed by abortion, by the culture of death. And he has set up a hotline throughout the country for any woman in need to call in so that they can save the life of their child. Imre has really dedicated his life, and of course he's had many children himself. He's a beautiful family there. But he is a pro-lifer with a mission. He has seen that abortion affects us all, and in his case, almost killed him.
It was not a decision. I was not called. I was urged. I was sent by God to do this work, because it's deep inside, this motivation in my faith, in the faith of my family. So it's a family heritage that you have to deal with somehow. A lot of people try to hide this question, the problem of this question, dealing with this question as a taboo. I had the feeling that this taboo has to be answered, this problem has to be solved in a good manner, and in a manner which is suggested by God. And afterwards, later on, I realized that it is not just my personal problem. It's a problem of my nation, it's a problem of Europe, it's a problem of the whole world.